She was called the mother of modern sculpture, but Louise Bourgeois was more than an art world legend. She spent nearly 7 decades creating works that were raw, intimate, and unflinching. Her sculptures, drawings, and installations dug into childhood trauma, sexuality, motherhood, and memory. And her giant spiders, they became some of the most iconic images in contemporary art. This is the story of Louise Bourgeois, an artist who turned pain into power. Hey guys, it's Laura here again. Welcome back to the channel and let's get into it. Louise Bourgeois was born in Paris in 1911. Her parents ran a tapestry restoration business, and young Louise grew up sketching missing fragments for their designs. From the beginning, art was tied to repair, to mending what was broken. But her childhood was far from idyllic. Her father had affairs, including one with her live-in tutor. Bourgeois never forgot this betrayal. The themes of anger, memory, and fractured family relationships haunted her for the rest of her life. She studied mathematics and philosophy at the Sorbonne, even writing a thesis on Pascal and Kant, before turning fully to art. In 1938, she married American art historian Robert Goldwater and moved to New York. There, she raised 3 children while carving out her place in the city's art world. In the 1940s, Bourgeois began making tall totem-like wooden sculptures she called personnages. They were abstracted stand-ins for the family and friends she left behind in France. Arranged in clusters, they resembled a community of memories, lonely, fragile, and homesick. At the same time, she created one of her most striking early series, Femme Maison, which literally means woman house. These paintings show female bodies with houses for heads. They reflected the pressure she felt as a wife and a mother, trapped between domestic roles and artistic ambition. She later explained she's totally self-defeating because she shows herself the very moment she thinks she is hiding. While the abstract expressionists around her, like Pollock and Rothko, focused on pure gesture and colour, Bourgeois was doing something different. Her work was rooted in personal narrative. It was about memory, emotion, and the body. For Bourgeois, art was a form of confession. She once said, "I became an artist to find a mode of survival." Her sculptures often explored sexuality and family trauma in ways that were unsettling and brutally honest. One of her most famous works is Fillette, 1968. A hanging sculpture of a phallic form, which she ironically titled Little Girl. Both humorous and disturbing, it embodies the mix of vulnerability and power that defined her art. A few years later came The Destruction of the Father, 1974. It's a table-like sculpture filled with swollen, fleshy forms, part dining room, part nightmare. Inspired by childhood dinners with her domineering father, Bourgeois imagined the children rising up, killing him and devouring his body. Grotesque, cathartic, and theatrical. It marked a new era in installation art. In the 1980s and 90s, Bourgeois began creating her cells, installations built from found objects, doors, cages, and fabric figures. Each one is like a 3-dimensional memory, fragment of domestic spaces infused with themes of isolation, protection, and trauma. Some cells are tender, filled with pink cloth and references to motherhood. Others are haunting, with bones, old clothes, and steel bars. She described them as containers of memory, spaces that froze emotions in time yet forced viewers to feel them anew. Together they form one of her most important late bodies of work, a powerful exploration of memory and confinement. Her most famous works came even later in life. In the 1990s, Bourgeois began making monumental spider sculptures. For her, the spider was an ode to her mother, patient, protective, and skilled at weaving. At the same time, the spiders are unsettling, even menacing. Towering over viewers, they embody both comfort and fear. The most famous of these is Maman, 1999, a 30-foot tall spider installed outside Tate Modern. Both tender and terrifying, it carries a sack of marble eggs, a mix of strength, fragility, and motherhood. It's been one of the most recognized works of public art in the world. Remarkably, Bourgeois didn't achieve widespread fame until she was in her 70s. In 1982, the Museum of Modern Art in New York gave her a retrospective, the first ever for a female artist. From then on, she was celebrated internationally. She represented the US at the Venice Biennale, taught and mentored countless younger artists, and became known for her Sunday salons at her New York townhouse. Equal parts workshop and battlefield, where she critiqued emerging artists with brutal honesty. Her later years also reflected decades of artistic experimentation. After returning briefly to France in the early 1950s, when her husband received a Fulbright grant, her father died, an event that weighed heavily on her. Around the same period, she began psychoanalysis, which she continued intermittently until 1985. In the 1960s, she expanded her material practice, working in latex, plaster and rubber, travelling to Italy to sculpt in marble and bronze. Louise Bourgeois died in 2010 at the age of 98. By then, she had become one of the most influential artists of the 20th century. Her spiders became not only iconic but also record-breaking. In 2019, one of them sold at auction for over $32 million, making Bourgeois the most expensive female sculptor in history. Her art was never about beauty or comfort. It was about honesty, about confronting pain, about turning private trauma into shared experience. Her femme maison paintings, her shocking destruction of the father, her unsettling fillet, her haunting cells, and her monumental maman all remind us that art can be personal, messy, and terrifying, and still change the world. Her influence extends beyond the art world too. Her marriage of tapestry and fabric brick with sculptural principles has inspired fashion designers such as Comme des Garçons and Simone Rocha, who have translated her interconnecting shapes and forms into couture collections. She once said, "Art is a guarantee of sanity." For Louise Bourgeois, it truly was survival made visible. Louise Bourgeois proved that art could be a form of survival, a way of processing trauma and transforming it into something powerful. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning more about her extraordinary life and work. Let me know in the comments which artist or designer you want me to cover next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next video. See you on the next one. Bye!